What do you know? Wait.
This week on At the Movies, a hit video game comes to the big screen. Mark Wahlberg stars in Max Payne.
Who do you think you are? Kennedy? You're a Bush. Act like one.
One of the most controversial movies of the year. Josh Brolin is Commander-in-Chief in Oliver Stone's W.
Wait.
Plus, Robert De Niro and Bruce Willis take you inside Hollywood. What just happened?
Max Payne is looking for something that God wants to stay hidden. That's what makes him even more dangerous.
They're coming. Mark Wahlberg is a cop on the path of revenge. I'm Ben Lyons from E! Entertainment.
And I'm Ben Mankiewicz from Turner Classic Movies. Our first movie is Max Payne. The question, can winged creatures of death stop Max Payne from avenging the murder of his wife and child? The answer? I can't imagine you'll care. Max Payne, starring Mark Wahlberg, seems as if it spawned from a comic book. It didn't. It comes from a video game with video game quality dialogue.
There's an army of bodies under this river. People ran out of time, out of friends. I could feel the dead down there, reaching up to welcome me as one of their own.
Please. Notable co-stars include Mila Kunis as an assassin and Chris Bridges, that's ludicrous, as an internal affairs investigator. But this is really Wahlberg's movie. Wahlberg has shown us, particularly in The Departed, how good he can be, but here he's only intense, only dour, and totally unemotive.
You following us? I'm only following you.
Hell no. Did you a cop or something?
Not tonight.
That's too bad. Now go get my watch.
Come on, Doug. Come get his watch.
Here's another question. Is this movie worth seeing? Not tonight or any other night. Skip it.
You're not a huge Max Payne video game player? You weren't excited to see him come to the big screen finally?
I know it surprises you, but no, in fact, I'm not a big Max Payne video game player.
Well, I think for fans of the video game, they're obviously excited to see this movie.
Sure.
So I'm going to say rent it, just because Wahlberg loves shooting a gun, and nobody really does it better. There are some great action sequences in this film. The third act is what I wanted from the entire movie. That's when it really opens up visually and gets stylized, and they're going to get made fun of for saying they're too much like The Matrix, but that comes from the video game, that slow bullet time technology and slowing down the action.
They bragged about bullet cam, you know, and I thought, oh, this will be exciting. I thought bullet cam was an enormous letdown. And the whole thing, again, it felt like a video game, and video games are fine if they're video games. This is a movie, you got to take it somewhere else. And then Mila Kunis is an assassin. She's like 19.
Yeah, there's nothing really there. You know what hurts a movie like Max Payne is the success of the Batman franchise. That obviously is about story and character. So they think for all films of the genre, it's got to be about story and character and this whole backstory of him losing his wife. I don't care about that. I want to see Max Payne shoot people. That's all I want from a movie like this.
No, what hurts this movie is that it's terrible and largely unwatchable. It was like a lesson in how to be down and depressed and brooding.
Yeah.
Wahlberg has proven when the material's right, he can pull off something good.
Yeah, this time it's just not right. All right, next is SexDrive. It's the latest in a string of raunchy comedies like Superbad and Harold and Kumar. But this one is nothing but a cheap imitation of those recent hits. Those films work because they have something SexDrive lacks: a heart. Why should we care about a kid in a zipped-up hooded sweatshirt who's not as endearing as Michael Cera, going on a road trip with a plot line that goes nowhere?
There is a girl that I've been kind of...
All right, I'm listening. Where'd you meet her?
Online.
What? Don't you watch Dateline? She's probably a guy.
Fans of James Marsden and Seth Green will appreciate their uncharacteristic performances, and I wanted more of them and less of the kids on the drive. All talented, but not enough to save this movie. Do me a favor, skip SexDrive.
Yeah, Ben, I agree with you. And I don't think I say this a lot because I don't get easily offended. But the fact is, there were, and I wrote it down, there were like 2,847 gay jokes in this movie.
Yeah, too many gay jokes without even really any humor behind them or any wittiness, just for the sake of making a gay joke, which is pretty dumb.
The only thing I liked about it, I think, was the same thing that you liked. I mean, I liked Seth Green as an Amish guy who'd spent time in the real world, and his one regret is that if he could do anything differently, he wishes that the Amish people would get irony.
Yeah, the film needed more of him. It needed more of James Marsden, who's unlike you've ever seen him before. A great role for him. And it needed more cameos along the road trip. That's what these movies like Harold and Kumar have that kind of make them special and stand out. This one was just flat. We've seen it before. It looked like a cheap, super bad imitation. Like these kids were dressing up as Jonah Hill and Michael Cera for Halloween.
I don't think you need the cameos, but you definitely need a story, and this didn't happen.
Something else going on. All right, well, coming up next, Robert De Niro's career hinges on Bruce Willis's beard. We'll explain in what just happened.
And later, will the president's approval rating go up after Oliver Stone's W? And the critics' roundup will weigh in.
Jonesy!
Hi, Mac.
Let's take a look at some movies out now on DVD. Harrison Ford is back with Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Skip it. John Cusack and Hilary Duff star in War, Inc. Also skip it. One of my favorite directors of all time has a new box set out, the Alfred Hitchcock Premiere Collection. Plus, Oscar winner Errol Morris's latest documentary, Standard Operating Procedure.
Our next movie is Barry Levinson's What Just Happened. It certainly isn't the first film to satirically skewer the movie business, and it's definitely not the best, but it may be the most welcome because it marks the triumphant return to quality work for Robert De Niro. He plays Ben, a powerful Hollywood producer who has to convince his big-time star, played by Bruce Willis, that he must shave his enormous Grizzly Adams beard or the studio will kill the movie and sue everybody.
Audiences want to know it's you, Bruce. They expect it. And we're talking about a lot of money here.
Ben, what are you talking about? They're not going to recognize me, Ben? Oh, where'd Bruce go? Huh? Can't see Bruce no more. Oh, where's my favorite movie star? Oh, look, there he is. I see him right there, the guy with the beard.
Willis is great in that scene, and what's terrific about Willis in general is that he plays himself and in the process represents every self-important movie star who's ever wrecked a movie with unreasonable demands or unreliable behavior. But it's De Niro who makes the movie here.
Like you're seeing my ex-wife.
Ben, you've been divorced for 1.5 years.
Doesn't matter.
But you almost married somebody else 6 months ago.
So what? It's not right. It doesn't feel right. It's wrong. I mean, Scott, for God's sakes, you're married.
What difference does that make? I'm not happy.
De Niro is sharp, he's angst-ridden, but even through fairly implausible situations, admittedly, he's fully composed. And working with Art Linson's screenplay, he's funny. Robert De Niro is back. It's a pleasure to say that. I say see it.
I'm gonna have to say rent it, just because I find for people who aren't familiar with the world of Hollywood, they might be alienated with all the talk of producers and agents. I find working in Hollywood, I enjoyed it a little bit more because it's kind of my lifestyle right now and I could relate to it. However, it showed me that Hollywood is about people as much as it is about the bottom line and numbers.
I'm not trying to call you out, but why do we care about whether you think people will like it based on what they do? I mean, if it's good, then let's tell them to go see it.
It is so inside, and it's not really accessible to a larger audience. It really is about what goes on behind the scenes in Hollywood. So folks might not care about these people. As someone like Catherine Keener, who's the studio head, might come off as too cold, even though what she's doing is just her job, and that becomes endearing,
But I mean, it's a business. Anybody who has to relate to other people in their business, I think, can relate to it. No question, you're right. It is inside Hollywood, but I wouldn't discourage people from seeing it.
It doesn't have the commercial appeal of a show like Entourage. It's a little bit more adult in a way that Entourage is more irreverent and fun.
They're just some really rich characters. You mentioned Catherine Keener as a studio chief. I think she's terrific. She seems like a nice person, but you know she is truly, truly ruthless.
And I like how you say Bruce Willis playing himself was a highlight for you. Yeah. For me, I like seeing Sean Penn play himself.
Ultimately, though, De Niro is in every scene, and he really makes this movie. And after so many disasters, 15 Minutes, City by the Sea, we've talked about Righteous Kill.
Showtime.
Thankfully, it's
Stardust. The list goes on for De Niro.
It's great to see that Robert De Niro can still carry a movie.
Absolutely.
Coming up next, a couple of singers. Oscar winner Jennifer Hudson and Oscar nominee Queen Latifah take Dakota Fanning under their wings in The Secret Life of Bees.
And the gang's all here. George and Laura Bush and Dick Cheney, like you've never seen them before in Oliver Stone's W.
They're so cultured. I never met women like them before.
It's like he's got his own spot in the world, but the outside don't come in.
Keep it down. I'm practicing.
Two singers, a rapper, and a child phenom comprise the cast of an emotionally charged film that reaffirms a basic belief in the human spirit. The Secret Life of Bees was a hugely successful novel written by Sue Monk Kidd that after years in development has finally made it to the big screen. The incredibly talented Dakota Fanning stars alongside Oscar winner Jennifer Hudson. They hit the road after fleeing from Fanning's abusive father and take refuge in the home of August Boatwright, played by Oscar nominee Queen Latifah.
The world's really just one big bee yard. The same rules work in both places. Don't be afraid, as no life-loving bee wants to sting you. And above all, send the bees love.
Fanning becomes an integral part of the lives of the group of women living on the estate, with Alicia Keys and Sophie Okonedo rounding out the ensemble.
Who can think with all that? Well, that's your problem. Think too much. Try going with your feelings once in a blue moon.
With an infectious soundtrack and inspiring message of self-reliance and family loyalty, this is a special film with a big heart, and Fanning is tremendous in her first truly mature role. I say see The Secret Life of Bees.
I disagree with you on almost every count. I say skip this movie, and I would skip it fairly aggressively. It is not a horrible movie. It simply is without any redeeming qualities.
Any redeeming qualities? Yeah. It's the bond formed by women, and it's nice to see women on the big screen who aren't obsessed with Manolos and coats and bags. These are real women.
That has nothing to do with it. I'm glad they're not obsessed with shoes, but the story still has to be good. The theme of the story is, you know, sometimes you have to leave home to find it. Spare me.
It's about acceptance. It's about putting people's differences to the side. It's about cultural understanding. There's larger issues going on here that you obviously missed.
No, I get it. The movie
you just
has
don't
to
care.
Be
You don't care about accepting people and tolerating new ideas.
This is a movie. There's got to be a compelling story here. There is absolutely no
story of Dakota Fanning, who's had a terrible incident happen with her mother. She's being raised by an abusive father. She's able to put that aside and to find womanhood and find love for the first time.
Did you not see everything you just mentioned coming 45 minutes before it happened?
Ben, we talk about this all the time. Most movies, we know what's going to happen at the end of the movie. It's the journey on how they take you there. And because of the great performances from the group of women, I found myself to be really delighted by this film, surprisingly so.
It's fine. Ultimately, though, there is absolutely no compelling reason for you to go to the theater and see it.
I think to watch a young actress at this stage in her career is reason enough.
You know what? I also don't share your enthusiasm for Dakota Fanning. I mean, don't get me wrong. She's fine, maybe even good, but I think you need to rein it in.
Picking on a 14-year-old girl, I'm glad that brings joy to your life. That's fantastic. Coming up next, Oliver Stone goes back to the Oval Office with W. The critics' Roundup cast their vote.
It's been a long haul, gentlemen. Ladies, now, I don't care what happens now. How many damn votes we do or don't get in the UN. So come Monday morning, 10 a.m., I'm giving Saddam and his 2 sons 48 hours to get out of Dodge, okay?
Indeed.
Just as every American should exercise his or her right to vote on November 4th, they should also exercise their right to go see an important and extremely entertaining film. Director Oliver Stone's W stars the sure-to-be-nominated Josh Brolin as George W. Bush.
Truly, deep down inside, you know I'm a guy like you. A guy you can trust.
Fabulous. Fabulous, Doug. What it all comes down to is who Joe Voter wants to sit down and have a beer with. And guess who that is?
Just remember, make mine non-alcoholic.
Stone's bold abandonment of a traditional linear narrative helps create a rich character collage that truly makes you understand this man and almost empathize with him.
After 9/11, what would you say your biggest mistakes would be, and what lessons have you learned from them?
No, I wish you would have given me this written question beforehand, John. So.
Stone leaves no stone unturned when rounding out this supporting cast with phenomenal performances, including Jeffrey Wright as Colin Powell, Richard Dreyfuss as Dick Cheney, and James Cromwell as Bush Sr. It's rare when a film about a U.S. president is released while that president is still in office, so it will surely be a conversation starter. So be sure to see it before you talk about it. That's my take on the film, and now let's throw it to the critics' roundup. We've invited film experts from around the country to join in on the conversation. Joining Ben and me today is Matt Singer from IFC and Christy Lemire, film critic from the Associated Press. Welcome, everybody. Let's start with you, Matt Singer. As you know, I feel like Josh Brolin will get an Oscar nomination, but let's talk about the rest of the supporting cast. Who really stood out for you?
I liked a lot of the supporting performances. Richard Dreyfuss as Dick Cheney, Jeffrey Wright as Colin Powell. The one that I had a little problem with was Toby Jones as Karl Rove. I think he went a little overboard with the look-alike makeup. He felt, to me, like the love child of the real Karl Rove and Quatu from Total Recall. I was very unnerved every time he was on screen, but I agree with you. Josh Brolin is really, really quite good in the film.
Singer keeping it political with a Schwarzenegger reference. I like that. Christy, let's go to you. What are your thoughts on the cast?
Yeah, Brolin's great in it. It would have been very, very easy for him to lapse into caricature by playing George W. Bush, but he's solid. Richard Dreyfuss, I think, is maybe the best one in this, in that his Dick Cheney, again, could have been over the top. He looks like him, he sounds like him, but he's also really acting. He has that one great monologue that really stands out. Tanya Newton, totally over the top as Condoleezza Rice, down to the gap between her teeth, it's so bad. But James Cromwell really gets the essence of Poppy Bush, I think.
Ben, it's no secret where Oliver Stone's political allegiance lies. Yeah. However, do you think Republicans will be able to get into this film and enjoy it as well?
I think one reason why this movie works so well is that Stone didn't do what we might expect him to do, which is take a hatchet to George Bush. This movie is really a character study, and in a sense, Stone lets Bush be Bush, or rather, lets Josh Brolin be Bush, and I think that's what really makes this work.
I agree with you, Ben. It's fair and balanced, if I may. You know, you could have made him look like a total idiot, and you don't. And I think whatever you thought about him going into the film, you'll probably be thinking the exact same thing going out of it.
I agree with you, Christy. Your sort of expectations going into the movie are not really reinforced by, say, by Oliver Stone's agenda, if you will. And I want to talk about the political ramifications of this film and its release date, because it was really sped up to be released in time for the election. So, Matt Singer, let's start with you. How's this going to play out on November 4th?
It does strike me as sort of odd because, as you say, it's a sympathetic Bush. It's surprising in that way. You think that because the movie was rushed to get done in time for the election, that there would be this sense of urgency about the message of the movie, and I don't think that's there. I think it is a very sort of conventional rise and fall of an American, person kind of biopic.
Well, I disagree with you enormously in that regard, Matt. I mean, I think it is a conventional biopic, but I think it is incredibly relevant because he's a sitting president, and I think what makes it work so much is there is no hatchet job. I think, yes, he's sympathetic, but it suggests that this guy lacked the interest or curiosity to become a great president, and that we have sort of suffered the consequences of that lack of curiosity.
But he comes off as a very simple guy, I think, to his core, which is what was surprising and also empathetic toward him. Like, all he wanted to do was watch baseball and drink beer. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, he wanted to go play fetch with his dog in the yard.
There's nothing wrong with that, but I think we now realize in 2008 that while that may be an okay guy to hang out with, that is not a guy we want running the country.
Right, no, he's totally in over his head, of course, and we see that from the film, and I feel kind of sorry for him, I think, because of it.
Time now for our ballots. Let's hit the voting booth. Matt Singer, see it, skip it, or rent it?
Well, I really enjoyed a lot of the performances, but to me it really did feel sort of like a conventional biopic or a TV movie, so I have to say rent it.
Christy, which side of the aisle do you stand?
Yeah, it is sort of a standard biopic in a lot of ways, but it surprised me in the empathy it creates and good performances. I had fun. I say see it.
Mank, we'll close with you.
Matt, who rents this movie? The election's in 2 weeks. See it now.
I agree. You have to see it, and I am the decider, so I say see it. All right, that's 3 for see it and 1 for rent it. So overall, we say you should see W. Guys, thanks so much for joining us.
Want to know what you can't miss this weekend? Stay tuned for this week's 3 to See. That's straight ahead.
Closed captioning for At the Movies is sponsored by...
What makes a Hershey's bar pure? Pure togetherness. Pure enjoyment. Pure delicious chocolate. Pure Hershey's.
Hotel provided by Park Hyatt Chicago. Chicago's award-winning hotel and luxury dining experience. Located in the heart of Chicago's Magnificent Mile on Water Tower Square.
All right, time now for my 3 to see, my picks for the 3 things to check out this weekend. At number 3 is a film that Ben Mankiewicz told you to skip Rachel Getting Married. Don't forget, folks, this is the guy who told you to see Beverly Hills Chihuahua.
If you're 10.
Anne Hathaway will surely receive an Oscar nomination for her genuine and passionate performance as a recovering drug addict and alcoholic who returns home from rehab for the weekend to attend her sister's wedding.
You know, Ben, I've reconsidered slightly, and you should still skip Rachel Getting Married.
Get out of here. You're so out of it. At number 2, just released on DVD, it's Mongol, the story of warlord Genghis Khan's earliest years in slavery and his ultimate rise to power. The visual spectacle alone is enough to draw you in. I think Mank can agree on that one.
See it, definitely.
And W sits atop my list as the movie you need to see this weekend. The film is sure to start debates about a president who continues to garner some of the lowest approval ratings of all time.
Fool me once, shame on you.
I approve of this movie. You have to check it out.
Okay, recapping the movies on this week's show, we split on Max Payne. I say skip it, Ben says rent it. We both say skip SexDrive. We split on What Just Happened. I say see it. Ben again says rent it. We split again on The Secret Life of Bees. I say skip it. Ben says see it.
That's because I have a heart.
And the majority of our roundup agrees. Go ahead and see W.
That's it for now. Remember, we're always online on atthemoviestv.com.
That's where you can see my 3 to see. And we will leave you now with a look at movies coming up on our next show. And until then, of course, we'll be at the movies.
What the hell have you done with Christine Collins?
I want my son back!
What are you gonna do, Ray?
You gonna burn down your own house? Blow up everything you work for?
Desmond, the doctor will see you now.
It's Fruit Crepe Fever. Sweet cream cheese, luscious fruit, and delectable crepes. Only at IHOP. Come hungry, leave happy.
And I created Immugo to help support the healthy immune systems of Hollywood stars.
Immune support on the go. The official immune support product of the Hollywood Movie Awards.
If you think a prune is a prune, you haven't tried Sunsweet Ones.
How do you like the individual wrappers?
It's not dry at all. They're delicious.
Sunsweet Ones, bite for bite, even better than fresh fruit.
Head-On is now available in a new formula for effective headache relief. Independent clinical studies show the active ingredient in new Head-On works at relieving your headaches when applied directly to the forehead.